that way too. If a pig gets loose, it's pretty savvy. It can take care of itself. They know how to hide. They don't get all wet because they don't have a whole bunch of wool wetting them down, making them cold. They don't have to have a barn or anything to keep them nice and warm. Horses are pretty smart. Cows, all those other animals, they do pretty well on their own. Sheep don't. Sheep really do need somebody to take care of them. So, I want to share some verses from the Bible, and I think you'll understand why I'm talking to you about sheep tonight. I'll pull up verses here on my phone. If you don't mind, I'm going to sit down here so I can read it a little easier. And I want to share a few things with you. Because, believe it or not, do you know what the Bible calls us? God calls us sheep. He calls us his flock. He calls us his lambs. And I want to share a few verses with you here that say just exactly that. In Ezekiel 34, it says, "For this is what the sovereign Lord says." This is what Jesus says. "I myself will search and find my sheep. I will be like a shepherd looking for his scattered flock. I will find my sheep and rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on that dark and cloudy day. I will bring them back home to their own land of Israel from among the peoples and nations. I will feed them on the mountains of Israel and by the rivers and in all the places where people live. Yes, I will give them good pasture land on the high hills of Israel, where they will lie down in pleasant places and feed in the lush pastures of the hills. I myself will tend my sheep and give them a place to lie down in peace, says the sovereign Lord. I will search for my lost ones who strayed away, and I will bring them safely home again. I will bandage the injured and strengthen the weak, but I will destroy those who are fat and powerful. I will feed them, yes, feed them justice. And as for you, my flock, this is what the sovereign Lord says to his people. I will judge between one animal and of the flock and another, separating the sheep from the goats." So what does he call us? Sheep. He's calling us a bunch of sheep. Now, you know another curious thing about sheep? At one time, I probably had almost 400 sheep. That's a lot. That's a lot of sheep. And I would move them from one field to another, or from one farm to another. My grandpa had his flock of sheep, and we'd go down every spring and every fall, and we'd move them down the road from one farm down the road, probably about half a mile, up to the barn, so that they could be in a nice warm barn where they could have their lambs every year. Do you think I had to chase every single one of those sheep?
Yes. No.
Nope. I did not, and I didn't have any dogs. I don't know if any of you have seen where they use dogs, and they have the dogs, and they'll herd the sheep around. I didn't have any dogs like that either. You know what I had?
What?
I had a bucket of food, one bucket of food, and I'd go out and I'd shake that bucket, and I always had one or two pets that would follow me around even if I didn't have that bucket. Well, I could get that one that had that would follow me, and I'd start walking up the road. And sheep are such followers that they'd all follow. They'd all follow.
They all followed you?
they would all follow me. But you know what? If somebody that they didn't know, like if my dad tried to get him, and he'd take that bucket and he'd go walking up the road, do you think they followed him?
No.
No.
They don't know your dad?
But you know what? They knew him, they'd seen him. But he's not the one that took care of them. They wanted to follow the one that took care of them. And that was me. Now,